Valorant doesn't have a dedicated solo queue option for ranked, which means that there's a chance that you're the only person queuing solo on your team, or even that you're going up against a 5-stack on the other team. Because of this, if you consistently want the highest chance of winning the match and ranking up, you need to make sure that you are as effective as you can possibly be all the time. Outside of communication though, one of the most important factors when it comes to making sure that you are providing as large of an impact as possible for your team is your agent choice. There are 3 agents in specific that stand out from the crowd when we're talking about solo queuing, and in this video I'm going to tell you who they are, why they're so effective, and how you can make sure that you're having as high of an impact as possible while playing them. If you don't already know me, I'm Hootie with Level Up Gaming, and don't forget to hit that big red subscribe button. I post new videos every Wednesday and Saturday and stream right here on the YouTube channel every Thursday. The first of the 3 agents is going to be Sage. Sage is an agent that in her current state provides an insane amount of utility for her team. Her ability to heal herself or her teammates, slow down an enemy push with her slow orbs, stop a push dead in its tracks with her barrier orb, or even bring a teammate back from the dead makes her a hard choice to pass up when considering who you should be choosing to make sure you are an influential teammate. The nature of Sage's abilities lean her towards being a more defensive, support-based character, meaning that on offense you probably shouldn't be the entry fragger for your team, because you're going to have more potential value and influence the longer you are alive. That being said, you'll be invaluable once your team is on a bomb site, with your ability to slow incoming enemies and block off entrances with your wall. And don't forget, you can always resurrect a teammate if you have that available to you, and it can also be used to bait out enemies and potentially get that final kill that you need to get. Moving over to defense, this is where Sage is really going to shine. Sage is incredibly powerful at holding down choke points and slowing enemy pushes as you would expect, but one thing I don't see a lot of Sage players doing is communicating with her team to use her barrier to boost herself and or her teammates over or on top of certain parts of the map. Boosting yourself up to a different or weird angle could potentially give you the ability to snag that first kill and gain an early advantage in the round. This is especially strong on Haven Bombsite B, for example, where you can use your barrier to boost you and your teammates over the giant object in the middle of the bombsite and look straight down into mid-window. This is an angle that the opponent won't often expect and could allow you the opportunity to grab that first kill advantage. A few things to remember to make sure you are as effective as possible while playing Sage. Watch your teammates' health and heal them if they're low. Use your barriers and slows to stop enemy pushes and slow down or watch the flank. Be creative with your barriers and your other abilities. Use them to boost or do other things that could help out your team. And try to resurrect as safely as possible, unless of course you're trying to bait out that resurrection for a kill. Early on in this game's lifespan, you saw Sage picked almost every single game for every single team. While I still think she is one of the most impactful agents in the game, I recommend you only pick Sage if your team has everything else it might need to be successful. If you have smokes, flashes, and even an entry fragger, then Sage can be an insanely useful agent to bring along. But I would pick any one of the 2 other agents on this list over her if no one else has picked them yet. Then we have our next agent of choice, Brimstone. His ability to block off parts of the map defensively or offensively with his smokes and incendiary make him a force to be reckoned with, especially when you combine it all with his ultimate, which is a massive area denial attack. Brimstone is easily one of the most useful agents to bring along when solo queuing. Obviously, you're going to want to communicate with your team to use your sky smokes to block off the enemies and gain map control, which is a pretty basic idea. But what if your teammates aren't communicating with you, which is pretty common in solo queue? Whether you got queued up with a 4-stack or a 3-stack and they're all in Discord not talking, how do you make sure you still have an impact? On offense, one of the ways I'm going to play Brimstone when my teammates aren't communicating to make sure I have a large impact is to watch where they're pushing and preemptively smoke things off for them. For instance, if I see them pushing towards B on split, I'm going to smoke off the bomb site and Heaven, increasing the odds that my team has to win whatever fights they take over there. On top of that, I encourage you not to underestimate your stim beacon. I also like to throw my stim beacons at my teammates as they rush in, giving them that increased rate of fire and increasing their chances of winning a gunfight. I see some people saying that the stim beacons are useless and they don't really buy them, but I've found them incredibly useful at making mediocre teammates just a little bit better, even if it's just a confidence boost that helps them confidently take and win a gunfight. Mindset matters, but so does hitting more body shots faster than the enemy when you both miss the headshot. Don't forget to also be using your incendiary ability to clear corners, stop pushes, or even learn some lineups so that you can shoot it at the bomb and stop a defuse. It's an incredibly strong ability and can be hard to spot if put inside of one of your sky smokes, so make sure you use it wisely. Similar to your incendiary, your ultimate can be used to clear parts of the map, push out enemies, or whatever you need to do to block off a certain part of the map. It can also be used to stop spike diffuses, so make sure you use it wisely and don't waste it. On defense, Brimstone is great at deploying smokes to block off enemy pushes. I highly recommend that you pay close attention to the minimap, and when you see the enemy is potentially pushing towards a bomb site, even if it's one you're not playing on, you smoke them off. Brimstone's ability to smoke off parts of the map that are pretty far away from him make him incredibly powerful. You can also use your incendiary or your ultimate ability to stop a push if necessary, but I like to save my ultimate to delay potential spike plans when I'm playing on defense, because it buys more time for the enemy to make mistakes and my teammates or myself to rotate and support my team. Things to remember to make sure you're as effective as possible as Brimstone: make sure you're paying attention to your teammates and your minimap with or without communication, and smoke off enemies for your team. Use your ultimate and incendiary to find and block off enemies. Use your ultimate and incendiary to stop plants or diffuses, and throw your stim at your teammates and help them win more gunfights. I highly recommend picking Brimstone, as his sky smokes and other abilities are highly effective at helping your team win. Unlike the next agent, he does not take a lot of skill to play effectively and can be impactful no matter who is playing him and at what skill level you're at. Next, one of the strongest and most incredibly versatile agents in the game, it's Omen, with an insanely high skill ceiling that offers a huge amount of utility for his team while also having the ability to play incredibly aggressive if necessary. Omen is one of, if not the best agent in the game. His smokes allow him to not only block off parts of the map like Brimstone can, but also can be used by the Omen or other players to see inside of and get enemies as they move into them. They can be used against you though, so be careful. On top of that, Omen can make enemies nearsighted and even teleport around the map. On offense, Omen's ability to smoke off parts of the map and block off angles so that his teammates can safely push into a bomb site can be highly impactful, just like Brimstone. But on top of being able to smoke off enemies, Omen can also cast his paranoia ability, which makes an enemy it hits nearsighted, and if timed and placed correctly, can give the Omen or his teammates a huge upper hand in a gunfight. Yes, you can play Omen kind of like you would play Brimstone, as I've mentioned already, and smoke for your team, but you can also play Omen incredibly aggressively by using your teleport to get yourself into spots that the enemy would never expect you to be in, potentially allowing you to pick up multiple frags. This is not something that is easy to pull off though, and you need to make sure that you understand the complex timings that go into his and other agents' abilities and have pretty good game sense so that you understand what the opponent is doing. Then I also like to use Omen's ultimate not only as a way to get into a position that the enemy wouldn't expect, but also as a way to check for enemies in certain parts of the map. You can cancel his ultimate by using the same button you would press to cast it, so that you don't die if an enemy is there where you're teleporting to. It's just a great way to go into a certain area, look around, see if you see anybody on that bomb site or wherever you're teleporting to, and then cancel it and jump back to your team. Defensively, from a very basic perspective, Omen is similar to Brimstone again with his smokes, but using his ability to teleport, you can get yourself into some pretty sneaky and sticky situations and aggressive positions that the enemy won't expect. Just be careful not to be too predictable. If you're doing the same thing every round, they're gonna figure you out eventually. Don't forget that your smokes have an incredibly long range, and you can almost smoke off any part of the map at all times. Use this to your advantage and keep the enemies on their toes so they think you might be somewhere other than where you really are. You also have to realize that your smokes regenerate as the round goes on. There's a timer that ticks down every time you use one, and you get it back after so many seconds. So make sure you keep smoking things off and keep the enemy on their toes. I highly recommend using Omen's ultimate on defense to quick rotate to another bomb site when you see the enemy pushing there. This is incredibly useful for your team and can help hold down a bomb site. It has the added bonus of freaking out the enemy because they're going to think that you teleported behind them somewhere. A few things to remember to make sure you're an effective Omen. Smoke for your teammates and smoke across the map to confuse the enemies. Use your abilities to gain aggressive advantages whenever possible. Use paranoia when your teammates are pushing to help them win gunfights. Use the inside of your smokes to your advantage. You can see through them, so can everybody else, but if you're inside of them and someone walks in, you have that split-second advantage of seeing them before they see you. Omen is one of my favorite agents to play, and I probably pick him the most often. Due to his incredibly high skill ceiling, he takes a lot of practice and skill to play really well. But when you do it correctly, your impact will be massive. If you are struggling to be effective as Omen, don't be afraid to pick Brimstone, as he provides similar utility to the team. Being able to take map control is crucial to winning a match in Valorant. If your team can't take map control because you don't have any smokes or way to push back the enemy, then you're likely going to lose if you're going up against a team of similar skill that does have these components. If your team has map control in the form of one or more of the above agents, then it isn't a bad idea to pick another agent. But in ranked games with random, unorganized teammates, the more map control you have through agent abilities, the better. If picking the right agent isn't your problem, then maybe game sense is. Head on over to my video on how to improve your game sense you see on the screen right now, and I'll see you over there.